Hi, it's Ed Kaminsky, and welcome back to another episode of the EdZone, where we talk everything real estate, and we do it live. So if you have questions and you're watching while it's live, feel free to send them in, and I'll be able to answer those right here and right now. If you're watching afterwards and you still have questions, feel free to post them, and I will get to those as soon as possible. So I'm Ed Kaminsky from Strand Hill Properties, Christie's International, part of the Kaminsky Real Estate Group. And today we're going to talk about the art of the deal, the art of negotiations. And one common question that comes up a lot from sellers is how much they should counter their offers at that they receive. Now that is always an important question, especially if they've had the home for sale for a while, it hasn't been getting any offers, you finally get an offer, what do? We're also going to address the opposite, which is what's going on with this market. We all thought it was going to finally slow down, but some of these buyers are finding out that they're still running into multiple offers. And how do you deal with that situation? How do you win without having to overpay for a property? But going back to the sellers, we'll talk first about that. Where do you counter an offer when it comes in? And the real thing to figure out is not trying to decipher what is the right price based on the information based on the existing offer, but you have to ask a series of questions of the buyer or the agent representing the buyer to try to find out additional information. One thing I always want to know, how motivated is the buyer? Are they sitting in a hotel and they need to be out of there? Are they about to deliver a baby and they don't want to be in the current place they're in very long? Are they just starting out and they just don't care if they get the house or not? These are all important pieces of information to help you decide where to counter an offer. So to me, I would write down 3 to 5 important questions for your agent. Assuming you've hired the best real estate agent you can find in the South Bay to represent you, have them ask the other agent on the other side these 3 to 5 questions. Number 1, where does the buyer live now? Number 2, what is their motivation to buy? Number 3, if they don't get the house, do they have other options? Are they looking at other homes in the marketplace? Have they fallen in love with the home? They have to have this home. So these, again, are great questions to ask before you decide. The one concern you have when you're countering an offer is if you counter too high, some buyers are going to walk away. You counter too low, yeah, you're going to leave money on the table. So really, really critical to do some due diligence. Now let's flip-flop this. You're a buyer. You hear there's multiple offers. Perfect example, we had a listing in Redondo Beach. Again, if you've been paying attention to what's going on around here, there's mass tech growth going on in Silicon Beach just south of us. We're getting a lot of buyers coming from that area, moving to the South Bay and wanting to buy a Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, and Palos Verdes, and then commute back up to Silicon Beach where they're going to work. We have Ring that's moving into the area that's bringing in employees and now new home purchases. So this growth in the South Bay or close to the South Bay is tremendous. And so what are we seeing? An absolute increase in buyer activity and still a reduction in inventory, causing multiple offer situations. So how do you win without overpaying? Again, there's 4 or 5 things you want to put in your offer, or you can adjust in your offer when you're stuck in this situation. But the first thing you want to do, same thing, ask the seller, ask the listing agent, what is important to the owner? It may not always be price. It could be timing. What is their situation? Where are they moving to? When do they need to be there? So you can adjust your offer accordingly to meet the seller's needs. That is going to go a long way from a seller's perspective outside of just price. Contingencies. What contingencies are you going to put in there or not put in there to improve your offer? You have 3 major contingencies. Number 1 is your loan. Number 2 is your appraisal. And number 3 is your inspection. Clearly, it's advisable always to have a home inspection. And so having that contingency in there is usually critical. The one to think about is appraisal. If you're paying cash, you don't need an appraisal contingency. And even if you're getting financing, if you're putting such a large down payment that the appraisal won't have any effect on your loan, you may not need to put it in your offer. And of course, your finance contingency. You need to talk to your lender and how solid are you? Is it a no-brainer? You're absolutely going to be approved for this loan no matter what? Think about not putting it in there. If you're concerned and you're not sure what the bank's going to say, then absolutely put it in there and protect your deposit. But again, you want to go back to the listing agent and ask these questions. Where's the seller going? When do they need to be there? What's important to them? Do they care if you're asking for personal property? Maybe it's their furniture in the backyard you want, but they really don't want to give it up. Find out these things first before you write the offer, or certainly after you receive a counter offer. So again, all really important things to do is just ask great questions. I'm going to go to the screen really quick here and see if there's any live questions. Can a seller back out of an accepted offer on a house? Wow, that's a great question. Well, yes and no. If a buyer is following the contract per the contract, the seller doesn't have the right to back out of a contract, but they certainly can try. If they did try to back out of a contract and the buyer was following the rules of the contract, they would be in breach of contract, and therefore a potential lawsuit could happen. The buyer could make claims against the seller for what's called specific performance. So in that situation, that's where you have to call a lawyer and ask for advice. But normally, the only time the seller can cancel a contract is if the buyer is not meeting their required parts of the contract, meaning timelines that are in the contract. So if the buyer's breaking those, it does give the seller an opportunity to issue what's called a notice to perform. Next question, how do you know what is a good offer versus counter versus something to walk away from? So, that's a personal thing, really. If you're deciding, if you have a bottom line and you're not getting there, walk away. If you're in a hot real estate market, there's 82 buyers around the corner, it's easier to walk away. If you're in a declining real estate market and offers are hard to come by, you better slow down that decision and look at the possible consequences of a home reducing in value over time. We haven't seen that in a few years, but that's coming back. And finally, I think we have no more questions. So with that, I just want to say thank you for watching another episode of the EdZone here in Manhattan Beach, California, from Strand Hill Properties, a Christie's International Real Estate Company. Thanks, and you have a great day.